Welcome to this video. Today I'm going to show you how I edit my engagement sessions in Lightroom. The same principles I use in this video are the same principles that you can use to edit any bulk of images. So for example, if you are shooting an engagement session or perhaps a portrait session, a maternity session, any session where you are delivering a large number of files to the client, or even one or two images to the client. But this is how I bulk edit in Lightroom. We're going to start with the import from beginning to end. If you already know anything in this video, feel free to skip along a little bit later in the video. Here we go. So I've put my memory card into the computer, and here's my memory card, the Nikon D810. That's the name of my memory card or the name of my camera. And here all of my images are grayed out because I've actually already imported these images onto my hard drive for the sake of time. But we're going to go through all the steps as if I had not already imported these images. So I'm going to click on Don't Import Suspected Imports. And this is going to allow me to import images even though they're already on my computer. So the first thing I'm going to do once the memory card is in, this screen is going to pop up, and I'm going to import every single image, even the ones that I'm clearly not going to use. For example, these of the sky and of the floor that I may have accidentally taken. I'm going to import everything. I am in the library module of Lightroom, and I'm going to start from the top, build smart previews. This is not something that I do because this particular hard drive I always leave plugged into my computer. I would only use smart previews for example, a travel hard drive that I may not always have on hand, or really, just in case I don't always have that particular hard drive with me, I can always see a lot of the information even without the hard drive. That's why you would select Smart Preview. But this particular hard drive is always plugged into my computer, so I don't really need to do Smart Previews. It's just going to take me longer and take up more memory on my computer or my hard drive, which is really not necessary. Don't import suspected duplicates. Usually I would click this just to make sure that all of the images are already on my computer. If, for example, I accidentally didn't check the last two images, they would be highlighted just like this. But these images are already on my computer, so I can just continue. Make a second copy too. I don't make second copies to any other hard drive in most cases. This is completely preference. If you want to have a backup of these images in another location, you can always check this. We are going to choose where we want to import the pictures to down here, but you can also make these copied to another location. For example, one copy on your actual computer and another copy on your external hard drive. But we're not going to do this. It's really not necessary. What I do as a backup is I don't format my memory card until the images are delivered to the client. That's just my way of backing up. But then again, if something were to happen to my hard drive, I would have lost those images. That's the risk I'm willing to take for these particular images. Moving on. Add to collection. Nope, this is a brand new couple, a brand new portrait session, so I don't need to click that. We can rename the files, or we can keep them as they are, which we're going to keep them as we are, because we can always rename them when we're exporting them as well, but I don't really think it's necessary. So we'll close these out. Apply during import. This is where you can add certain things like metadata on the back end of the images or add certain keywords. Also something that you can do, but it's totally not necessary. Now we're going to choose where we want these images to go. Personally, I would like to put these on my external hard drive, which is named My Book for Mac. So I'm going to click there, and it's going to open up all the folders on that external hard drive. Now I can either select a folder that's already here, but in my case, what I'd like to do is create a whole new folder for these images, and I'm going to name it Rosangela Engagement. And I'm going to click into subfolder. You'll see if I uncheck this, let's see. If I uncheck this, it's going to just go into the main folder of My Book for Mac. If I check this, it is Rosangela Engagement. Let's see. Copy is going to be the folder that I'd like to move these images to. And you'll see it here. That means this folder is being created now on my hard drive. It's a subfolder of My Book for Mac. If I uncheck it, it disappears because, as I said, it's going to go into the main folder that I have selected here. But I always put my images into a subfolder. It just makes it easier for me to find them later on. Once I have selected that, I would hit import, and all of my images will start to import into that folder. But as I said, we've already imported these images for time's sake. So we're going to hit cancel. And here we are. The images are imported onto my hard drive and into Lightroom in the folder that I selected or that I created, Rosangela Engagement, with 482 images. So now we're ready to edit. Let's go ahead and click the menu bar, and we're going to scroll over to the Develop module so that we can start editing. Here we are in the Develop module. So what I do before I even start editing my images is I cull my images. What that means is I go through the batch, I select the ones I want, I select the ones that I really love, and I may or may not select the ones to reject or to completely delete. And I'll show you the easy breezy shortcut way that I do this. Here we have some obvious misfires with the camera. I really don't want these pictures, and all they're going to do is just take up memory on my hard drive. So we're going to go ahead and delete these. The way that I delete these images is by hitting on my iMac computer or my MacBook Pro. The shortcut is the letter X. You will have to research this if you are a Windows user, what the actual shortcuts are. But I'm using a Mac, and the shortcut is the letter X. By hitting the letter X, this particular image is selected as rejected. And I'll show you what rejected does. We scroll to the next one. We're going to hit X, the letter X, and that's going to mark that image as rejected. We don't want this one. X, also no good. X. This one, it's not a bad picture. It's really not a bad picture. I'll hold on to it, even though it's not something that I'll deliver to the client. This one is also, they obviously weren't ready, but we'll keep them. You never know. Maybe we could use them for a candid shot or something like that. So these images that I don't want, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command Delete. It's going to bring up this box. If I hit Delete from Disk, it will completely delete the picture from both Lightroom and from my external hard drive, which is what I want. It's going to move these images to my trash. I don't want them at all. Get rid of them. Now, if I hit Remove, this will only remove the images from my Lightroom catalog. The images will remain on my hard drive. You can make this call. Maybe you just want to keep them on your hard drive as a backup. In that case, hit Remove. But I have absolutely no use for these images. They're just taking up room on my hard drive. So I'm going to delete them from disk. And they're gone. They're in the trash. Now, we're going to move on to selecting my images. Now, there's two ratings that I'm going to use when selecting my images. I'm going to use the letter P to select the image. A selected image will look like this. The letter P stands for pick. So if you hit the letter P, it's going to pick this image as a selection. And it's going to make it easier to find all of your picked images later on. Okay? On the images that I really love, these are the ones that I know perhaps are going to make the blog. I am going to rate them. Not only am I going to pick them, I'm going to also rate them. You can use your numbers on your keyboard. You can use 1 through the number 5 to rate your images. So if I hit the number 1, there we go, 2, 3, 4, or 5. If you go beyond 5, it's going to mark the images as a particular color. For example, 6 is red, 7 is green, or yellow rather, 8 is green, and so forward. This is just going to help you further, eliminate or select images that you may particularly like or particularly not like. Moving on. When I first started in photography, I used to go through every single image and select the ones that I wanted to delete. And that would leave me with all of the so-so images that I may or may not select. What I'm trying to tell you is I have found over the years that it's much, much easier to select the images that you want rather than selecting the images that you don't want. That's going to cut your culling time or your selection process by a whole lot of time if you're doing it in reverse. So we're going to be selecting the images that I like. The picked images are most likely the ones that I will deliver to the client. The ones that I rate are likely the ones that I will blog or use in my portfolio. So let's get into it. We're going to start from here. And we're going to go through all of the images. That one, clearly they're not ready. So we're going to skip over that one. They're not ready here. So we're actually going to unselect this image. To unselect an image or to unpick an image, you're going to use the letter U. And that's going to remove the flag, the selected flag. And we're going to keep it moving. This one, it's not bad. but I think we have some better ones. This one, he's looking at the plant. I'm not really sure what he's doing, so we're going to keep it moving. This one is really nice. Let's zoom in, make sure it's in focus. Looks in focus, looks sharp. Needs a little straightening, but that's all right. We're going to pick this one. It's a very nice picture, and keep it moving. This one, his eyes are closed, so we're gonna just keep it moving. The ones that I am not going to do anything with, I don't make any selection, unselection, I don't reject them. I simply leave them there. I'm only focusing on the actual pictures that I want to keep, okay? So we're going to pick this one. That's a nice one. So you'll only be seeing me picking images. That's also a nice one. That's nice. These two look very similar. So we'll keep the one where he's smiling. And you'll see here that there's a white flag, which means that it's picked. And we'll keep it moving. This one I've already edited. There's a sneak peek. We're going to pick it. We'll return to that later. We're going to pick that as well. Very good. Pick. And we're just going to go through and pick the images that we like. He dipped her right into the sun, which is going to blow out her face, so we're going to skip that one. Her tongue sticking out, we're going to keep it moving. This one is kind of cute. Her eyes are closed, but she may like it. It's a candid picture. It's all right if her eyes are closed. We're going to keep it moving. You get the gist. The gist. You get the gist. Or the gist. You get the idea. We're going to pick that one. And I'm just going to go through really quickly and just select the ones that I like. And you want to be pretty selective. You don't want to just pick every single picture because you will spend all day editing, and these people have paid me a good amount of money to not only take the images for them, but to also use my professional judgment to select the best ones. So that's what I'm going to do. People don't want to search through hundreds and hundreds of pictures to find the best ones. Select the best ones and allow them to choose their favorites from that bunch. And just keep it moving. If it takes too long to decide whether or not an image is good, just keep it moving. It's not good. There's plenty more to choose from. As I said, you'll be here all day. That's cute. They're all great. They're all very, very similar. All right. And you'll see that I have already gone through the rest of the images and selected the ones that we are going to be working with today. The next thing I would do is I would come on down here, still from the develop module. I would come here in the right corner, and where it says filter is off, I'm going to select that and I'm going to hit flagged. So I want to see all of the images that I selected as keepers, and only those images. From these images, if I wasn't rating images when I was going through them to make my selections, I can go back through my picked items, which is going to be a drastically reduced number from all of the images. I can go through and 5-star the ones that I really love. This one, clearly I really love it. It's already edited. Again, we'll show you how we got there. I like this one. It's pretty. We'll keep it moving. Only the ones that I really, really love. That one's pretty. That one's also pretty. But I really, really love. We can always go back and unselect the ones that we won't be keeping. This is pretty. And as you can see, I've already gone through the rest of the bunch and selected my 5-star ratings, the ones that I really, really love. Now let's get even deeper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a 5-star image. I'm going to start with a 5-star image with the editing process. I'm going to first edit a 5-star image and then use this as a base to edit all of the other images. I use Mastin Labs Presets, but you can use any preset that you want. And I'll show you how. There are a ton of presets that you can buy. You can make your own. It really doesn't matter. There are tons of videos on YouTube that shows you how to make film emulation style presets, or you can buy them like I have with my Mastin Labs presets. Or perhaps you don't like film emulation. You can just make some basic presets, or you edit to your style and then you create a preset. You can learn how to create a preset in another video. And this is how we're going to bulk edit. So we're going to try Portrait. Oh, that one's nice. Portrait 400. I really like Portrait 400, but these folks, sorry about that. These folks had actually gone sun tanning the day before and got sunburnt, so their skin was quite red and orange, and I'm really not liking the tones in their skin when we use Portrait. I don't want them to look too orange, although 160 doesn't look too bad. But we're going to use Fuji Pro, because these tend to have a little less orange in the skin tones. So we're going to use Fuji Pro Neutral. Then we're going to decide whether or not we want hard shadows and highlights or soft shadows and highlights. I like soft as a general starting point for this image. We can lens correct the edges of the images, or we can keep them dark. Which do you prefer? I like that one. we'll correct the lens correction. We can add grain to the image. This particular preset has the grain built in. I generally, I'm not too big of a fan of grain. I like to keep the image, you know, as smooth as possible. So we'll keep the grain at 0. All right, we're going to straighten this out a little bit. Looks pretty good. I want to get them more in the center. Using this as my center point. So we're going to move this up a little bit. Looks pretty good to me. Now, I think that the shadows could be a little darker. Just a little, not so much. And I would like a little bit more vibrance to this preset. Looks pretty good. It's a bit warm, and only because their skin is has so much red tones, I'm going to try and cool this image down a little bit because I don't want them to look like lobsters. If I hit on my keyboard the letter Y, it will open up a screen where I can compare the two images. I think that looks pretty good. However, this particular preset has my blue hue turned more towards the green side. I don't like that. So we're gonna hit that to yellow. And I don't particularly want my blue any more saturated than it, excuse me, any more saturated than it already is. So we're gonna keep it like that. And we'll actually, it looks a little pink. We can add some green tint, just a little bit. We'll actually make it a little bit warmer. We'll keep it like that. I think that looks great. This is the edit that I made a little earlier. They both look great. I think they both look great. I'm going to deepen my blacks a little bit with the tone curve and heighten my whites a little bit, just a tad bit. And it looks just a little off. So we're gonna put it like that. I think that looks great. I think that looks perfect. And what I can do now is from this image or from this image, either one, what we're going to do is select the other images that are in the same tonal range, in the same lighting conditions. We're going to select using Shift and then selecting the last image of the bunch. We're going to hit sync. And then you can select everything that you want to sync, which should be everything except for local adjustments, which would be, for example, if she had a pimple that I had to spot out, perhaps in the next picture you don't see the pimple as much because we're further back or he's on the other side. I don't suggest syncing local adjustments. Just make those individually and locally. And we're not going to, I mean, these, it doesn't really matter. We could select these. spot removal. That's also something that's more localized from image to image, so I wouldn't select that. And crop and straightening the image, I wouldn't do that either, just because images are going to be off. Some images are going to be more off-centered than others. So that's something I just personally prefer to do for each additional image. And we're going to hit synchronize. And from there, you will see that each image received the same exact settings and adjustments as our initial image. But this image, for example, it's a little bit darker than the first one, so I can adjust the image if necessary, individually, if necessary, because every single image is not going to be exactly the same. We're going to twist this up, move on to the next one. See, this one looks pretty perfectly aligned already. The only thing I would do is crop it in a little so that the plants on the floor are more aligned. Perfect. That looks beautiful. All right. And I can make a localized adjustment to this individual image if I'd like. And that is how you bulk edit images in Lightroom.